Hey, it's MAGA Hat Monday and let's go.
Epstein believed that Donald Trump went to the Palm Beach police and said, Jeffrey Epstein has young girls at his house, thereby beginning the legal process which would ultimately bring Jeffrey Epstein down.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk, I'll give you as much time as you want, I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule cause you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, cause I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast, and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feast, and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring, and George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil, chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk and doubt it, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
You know, sadly, these people don't believe in transparency, but I think more, unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't believe in honesty. And it's a new day, it's a new administration, and everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
Right. Americans have the right to know. Welcome to the MC Too Tall Show. I am your hardcore, fierce, and sexy host, MC Too Tall, as you could probably tell already. Anyway, it is no secret that Barack Obama and his administration were a bunch of sons of bitches and sleazy bastards. Greedy sons of bitches and sleazy bastards. And they wanted to maintain power. Barack Obama wanted Hillary in place because they were pretty much on the same page with world domination and the seizure of individual sovereignty. And they proved it. The Democrats as a whole have proved it when they sabotaged the Trump administration in the last year of his first term. And all this is supposedly coming out about Donald Trump being an Epstein associate. He was never an Epstein associate. You ever see the movie Wedding Crashers? About these two guys that just show up to different wedding parties. They show up to different wedding receptions, and they're the life of the party, and they get along with everybody and stuff like that. Jeffrey Epstein, having never been on an actual guest list at Mar-a-Lago, would just slip in there, sneak in, probably bribing guards or whatever the hell he did. Guards that probably don't have their respective jobs anymore because of this. and he would slip into parties at Mar-a-Lago, walk up to Donald Trump. It seemed like this nice, fun-loving guy. So, so a fun-loving guy walks up to you at a party and he's yucking it up with you or whatever. Of course, you're not going to take the time to look up his seedy past. And in fact, in those times when Donald Trump is seen in those photos and videos with Epstein, Epstein's seedy past wasn't even known back then. But one of the first people to find out about it outside of Epstein's little circle was Donald Trump. Because what happened was he saw Epstein trying to mingle with underage girls when he was alerted by one of the parents of these girls, and he had him kicked out and banned from Mar-a-Lago, never to return again, because he found out what a creep he was. And as it turns out, in 2009, Donald Trump actually tipped the authorities off and said that he suspects that these people, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, may have underage girls over at Epstein's crib. And the tip-off brought about some very valuable information that they were able to use to investigate and eventually have Jeffrey Epstein arrested. And that this is now coming out. So not only was Donald Trump not an Epstein associate, he was the one who spearheaded the investigation that eventually had Jeffrey Epstein arrested and put in the jail where he eventually, they say he killed himself. Looking back at it, it can't be ruled out. I still want to see more proof that he did not kill him, that he killed himself. I still want to see more proof of that personally, but it can't be ruled out either. It cannot be. So, no cause of Epstein death could be ruled out. Murder or suicide at this point. And I don't know what else to tell you. I will say this, I've said this in a previous video, that with all the stuff they were trying to get Donald Trump on, I mean, it would have been easier to reel Donald Trump in on Epstein-related charges than to make up this whole elaborate Russia collusion story, which turned out to be a fable. It would be a lot easier if they were able to find factual evidence of Donald Trump being both feet in on an Epstein scandal. If they were able to find this factual evidence, it would have been much easier to reel him in than to go all out and make up this fake collusion story. You mean to tell me they had this hard, concrete evidence that Donald Trump was associated and buddies with Epstein and participated on all the sleazy things that Jeffrey Epstein did, or knew about it and witnessed it and was even entertained by it, and they have some kind of factual evidence on this, but chose to put in more work to create this fictitious Russian collusion story. And meanwhile, the only entities having nothing to do with this elaborate conspiracy were Donald Trump and the Russians. And they would rather do that than reel Donald Trump in on the Epstein charges if they actually had factual evidence that Donald Trump was heavily involved with Jeffrey Epstein's sleazy sexual activities. It doesn't take somebody who was there at every step of the way to look at this and realize that Donald Trump was not an Epstein associate and he wasn't involved with Jeffrey Epstein's sleazy sexual activities. And these people are sons of bitches who try to claim that. Let me tell you something. I'll put my own reputation on the line. I'm going to say that Donald Trump and I share the same moral compass. Donald Trump and I have the exact same, identical moral compass. Donald Trump's moral compass and mine are identical to the T. That's how far I'm going to go with how far fetched I believe this whole Epstein conspiracy story is, with associating Epstein with Donald Trump. And as you've seen, Epstein will always and forever be more of a Clinton guy than a Trump guy. And you can't trust Bill Clinton to tell you the truth. You can't trust that sleazy scumbag to tell you the truth. He said in front of millions of people watching on national TV that he did not have any kind of sexual relations with Miss Lewinsky. He did not tell her to lie. But Monica Lewinsky says he told her to lie. Funny, Monica Lewinsky would go on as Bill Clinton's damaged goods to be scooped up by Jake Tapper. And I guess Jake Tapper tapped her. And that was Jake Tapper's claim to fame. That was his foot in the door to become the shill that he is right now. To become the political hack at CNN that he is to this very day. And so, oh, what a tangled web we weave. We weave, and deceive. And it's not looking good for the Clintons. And Barack Obama wanted either a puppet like Joe Biden or a corroborator like Hillary Clinton in the White House after he left the White House. And Donald Trump just foiled that by winning a free and fair election in 2016 that him and his men lied about and leaked out false information on purpose, alluding that Donald Trump and the Russians sabotaged the 2016 campaign to make him president. As if the country wasn't sick and tired of seeing Hillary's face on TV each and every night by 2016. The fact that Hillary Clinton lost the 2008 primary to Barack Obama is proof in the pudding that the American public was tired of Hillary Clinton. It wasn't the 2016 general elections that were sabotaged. It was the 2016 Democratic primary that I believe was sabotaged. They screwed Bernie over. Now, granted, Bernie is a communist, or what he likes to call a democratic socialist. And no way in hell would I want that man to ever be president. I don't even want him holding the public office that he holds now. But what's fair is fair, and the DNC played Bernie Sanders unfairly. That election, or that primary, was his. That Democratic nomination was his. And they just snatched it and gave it to Hillary Clinton. And when they couldn't do that to Donald Trump in the general, that's when they seeped out the false information about some fictitious Russian collusion. And Christopher Steele, he ought to be rotting in jail right now as we speak. Christopher Steele belongs in jail, possibly even under the jail. That scumbag. So, the Clinton campaign paid Christopher Steele to just whip up a dossier of pure fiction. They believed they had the election in the bag. They believed Hillary would win anyway. So they left it alone until the day after the election. And then all of a sudden, Barack Obama, looking at the evidence that there was no tampering by the Russians, tells his men, let's go find the evidence that the Russians tampered with this election. And that is a bigger story than this Epstein business. But I think Donald Trump's playing some 3D chess, because with all the pressure, release the list, there's going to be a bigger resounding demand for the release of the names on this list. And eventually, the administration, including Donald Trump himself, are going to say, okay, you asked for it, so here it is. Here, leave us alone now. Here it is. And his name will not appear on that. His name will not appear on that. Donald Trump did not participate in sleazy sexual activities associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And people can't see why I say that. And I said it earlier in this video, I said it in past videos. If they had this would have been low-hanging fruit for them. They would have never had to go through the hopscotch and jump rope and bob and weave to try to pass off the Steele dossier as fact. If they had low-hanging fruit like factual damning evidence associating Donald Trump with not just Jeffrey Epstein as a person, but all the sleazy activities that landed Jeffrey Epstein in jail. This would have been low-hanging fruit for them if there was anything fact-based in it. But, you know, people want to keep saying Donald Trump did this and Donald Trump did that. Donald Trump is no more racist than I am. Donald Trump is no more immoral than I am. Donald Trump is no more sleazy than I am. And you could tell that I am not in any way sleazy. I could give you a whole list of Democrats that are sleazy. People in public office that their constituents trusted with their future. Unethical bastards. First name that comes to mind, Adam Schiff. Right behind him, Nancy Pelosi. Of course, Hillary Clinton. And we come to find Barack Obama. Chuck Schumer. Joe Biden, of course. Joe Biden's wife. Joe Biden's surviving son, Hunter. Bill Clinton. Jerry Nadler. And so many others. Hakeem Jeffries. Jamal Bowman. These are elite or elitist-minded snakes in the grass. As I mentioned in my last video, Letitia James, she's another elitist scumbag. Because of Democrat policies in New York State, a customs agent gets shot in the face. And luckily, he had his firearm with him to be able to defend himself and his girl. Otherwise, he and his girl would have been dead. And a newswoman brings it up, asks her, why wait for Congress, for decades for Congress, to fix this problem when you in New York State could simply reject these people, cooperate with ICE. And she goes, we are cooperating with ICE. If you're cooperating with ICE, you would do as Tom Ullman suggests by holding these criminals that may be illegal aliens until ICE could send agents over to pick them up at the jail or at the precinct. This way, they don't have to go in to the populace, go into the general population of the New York public to pick these criminals up that you know committed a crime, that you're releasing them as they await a trial that they have no intention of attending. And they have to go into the public after them. And you know the rules, you know the federal rules, that if there's somebody else nearby, anywhere within the vicinity that happens to be there, that is also an illegal alien, whether they committed additional crimes or not, those people are going to be collateral pickups as well. So wherever you see ICE doing these sweeps, among these people being picked up is at least one violent criminal. They're not picking up a whole slew of people and then there's not one violent criminal among them. They're going into these cities looking for the violent criminal, and they pick up the violent criminal and whoever else is nearby that's in the country illegally. Because whoever's in the country illegally already committed the crime of entering the country illegally. I've said this before in my last video. And why am I saying this? Why did I segue to this? Because this is what they're trying to deflect by bringing up the Epstein list. They keep bringing up the Epstein list and trying to associate Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein's sleazy activities that landed Epstein in jail, to hide the fact that Donald Trump was right all along, that they spied on his campaign. They tried to sabotage his first tenure as president and had some success in doing that in the final year of his first run as president, his first term as president. And they're trying to hide this. Dr. Anthony Fauci sabotaged Donald Trump, Barack Obama, James Comey, Jim Clapper. These are the people that tried to sabotage. Of course, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and Jerry Nadler. These are people that tried so hard to sabotage and ruin Donald Trump, when all he wants to do is simply make America great again. And the truth will come out. The truth will come out. Part of it's coming out already. Not only was Donald Trump not associated with the sleazy activities of Jeffrey Epstein, he's the one that tipped off the authorities about the sleazy activities of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein got picked up by a large part by Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein believes Donald Trump tipped him off. And I don't believe Jeffrey Epstein would have even mentioned Donald Trump's name as being an associate of his, because it simply wasn't true. And, well, they're doing some Ghislaine Maxwell interviews. I believe this interview that was recently done with the Assistant Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General and Ghislaine Maxwell, I believe this is the first of quite a few. I don't believe this is going to be the one and only interview. I believe it's going to be a series of interviews, and it's going to come out, man. It's going to come out. And people are going to be so salivating for knowledge as to who was involved with these sleazy activities with Jeffrey Epstein, that they might not believe those names when they come up. And I could assure you, Donald Trump is not one of those people. I'm so sure of it that if Donald Trump was involved with those activities, then so was I. That's how confident I am. If Donald Trump was associated with those activities, then so was I. Come put me in cuffs too. Okay? But I'm clean. I'm all the way clean. Because I'm not immoral. I'm not a Democrat. Therefore, I'm not immoral. Respect God. Watch out for the Illuminati. Follow and share this in-depth content. Stay strong. Keep kicking that slang. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, and underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall. Be safe out there, yeah?